And welcome back to more Gravity Rush Remastered. Last time, we completed the final challenges, and we visited the Ruins Rift Plane. So this time, we are going to explore more of the other two Rift Planes. So, let's talk to Gade. And let's go back to the Inferno. So, compared to the Ruins, going back to the Inferno is a little bit interesting. In the Ruins, we were actually able to skip a lot of Nevi fights, since we really weren't concerned about actually, refighting the boss or anything. But in the Inferno, it's a lot harder to actually skip fights, so I actually will be fighting most of the Nevi here. Before we drop down, if we look over here, we can find Singlor. In theory, you could suddenly disappear again and reappear somewhere else. Your perception of time seems to differ from that of my own. Oh, yeah, about that. It's actually been a while since we last spoke. Is that so? From my perspective, it's impossible to perceive such a phenomenon. It must be quite a curiosity from your point of view. Yeah, it's a little weird. You're gone one second, then there the next. We keep meeting in the strangest places, too. It would appear my attempts to artificially produce gravitational energy gave rise to a dense gravitational field that warped space-time. Perhaps if artificial gravitational energy and warping of space-time? That must have been quite an experiment. Alright, so let's drop down, and over here, by this flower, if we look for the way ahead, it's blocked by a bunch of lava. It is technically possible to fly through it, but I actually want to hold on to as much health as I can because of the rare Nevi here, so I think it'll be a little bit easier to simply defeat the Nevi and clear the way. There's one more left here, and we're good to go. So that clears up the lava, so we are able to fly through. This particular one is a lot more linear because of having a lot more narrow passageways connecting each area instead of the other two rift planes that are a lot more open. And with enough gravity energy, you can easily fly past where you're supposed to go. So yeah, it's very different structurally from the other two. One thing that's actually good to keep in mind about the rare Nevi is they actually don't despawn. So here, we're actually pretty close to where the rare Nevi is. I want to defeat all of these Nevi here and clear out this spot, because there are actually health pickups here, and because the rare Nevi don't despawn, if we need to heal, we can simply leave that area and come back here for health. So let's go down towards this passageway. Maybe I can go this way. That one's different from the others. And we have our second rare Nevi fight. This is probably, in my opinion, the toughest one, because it has a very strong set of attacks. It has that shockwave like the regular variant of this Nevi, and it has its punch attack, but both deal a ton of damage. So I leveled up evasion last time because a good strategy is to land an attack and then quickly air dodge away from it before it uses its shockwave move. Another strategy is to actually deliberately get kind of far away so it uses its punch attack, and then it basically leaves it open to attack, so it's easier to deal damage. This is also why I decided to leave a lot of health upgrades for later, because if I need to heal, that's also a way to heal really efficiently without having to leave the room. and I might need to because I'm taking a lot of damage. The air dodge isn't super reliable, that's why I don't really use it very often, and we've taken quite a bit of damage despite trying to use it. To play it safe, I am going to use this upgrade here, and let's finish this fight. Whoa, what a score! So, like before, we get a ton of gems for defeating this. Oftentimes I find myself healing even though a boss is almost defeated, just because it's like, oh, the boss is almost down, I don't want to die right here, even though it might be kind of a waste of resources healing at the very end. Alright, so we still need to find Nala, so let's go ahead through this tunnel and see if we can find her further into this rift plane. Because we actually didn't fight the boss of this rift plane the first time we were here, I think I actually might finish this one just to show this fight, and also to show what happens when you get to the end of a rift plane the second time. Alright, so here we have more Nevi. We actually have the normal variant of the rare Nevi we just fought. Luckily this version is weak to special attacks, so this is a lot easier. And from here, instead of going forward, we want to look around, because Nala is on this ledge. It's that girl and her cat again. She's looking at me funny. If she can see me, maybe she can see my husband too? I know you can't hear me, but let me tell you about him. He was doing research on gravitational fields. It was his calling in life. I was always so lonely, sitting at home, waiting for him to come back from the lab. Sometimes I even thought about leaving him. But now that he's really gone, I miss him so. Phew, it felt good to get that off my chest. I hope I can run into you again some. And we found Singular Nala in the Inferno. But yeah, I think I will go ahead and finish up this area. In general, I feel like this is a fairly short rift plane. So there's only one more encounter before the boss, and it's not too difficult. As the tutorial prompt said, if you actually skip a special move, you can actually come back and get it on a revisit. And that actually made me wonder, because I actually feel like it'd be really difficult to actually skip an upgrade, or to skip a special move, because they're kind of in plain sight. So like, I feel like it would actually be really difficult to skip it, and yet the game does let you know that if you do miss it, you can get it on a revisit. Barely missed that timing window, sadly, so we have to wait for another cycle. These enemies are a little bit tougher than the first time we were here. For example, this one takes 2 hits to defeat instead of 1, even with a fully leveled up gravity kick. So from here, we can simply fly over to the missing part of town, which I guess really isn't missing anymore, but it is here for some reason. And as we approach this part of town, the boss Nevi appears. That was a terrible time to use the special move. Luckily, one of the attacks actually worked. So yeah, this is honestly a fairly standard enemy at this point, not too difficult. Might as well get used to fighting this enemy though, because we still have one more rare Nevi to go. So yeah, might as well try to fight this. So yeah, normally using a special would be really effective, but sadly I kind of wasted it, so this is not exactly an ideal fight. And I missed. I do feel like these enemies are some of the toughest to actually land attacks on, just because of like the hitboxes and their mobility. Alright, one more hit should do it. And we have cleared out the Inferno once again. I should get back. And with that taken care of, there's only one more Rift Plane to revisit. The Mirage. So, this is very different than the previous time we were here because we actually have full access to our powers. Dusty is totally fine, so we can fly much farther and even reach these very distant platforms that we weren't able to reach last time. And on one of these distant platforms is Singalore. Dense gravitational field that warped space-time. Perhaps if I find my wife, I can come up with a way to stop the effects. My thinking is, if we could reproduce the exact effects of the experiment, we might be able to return things to normal. Of course, that won't be easy, seeing as how I lost all my equipment in the accident. It's hard to keep up with this conversation. Yeah, that's too bad. But you have given me hope, Cat. I've never been one to believe in fate before, but I cannot believe our meeting was mere... Wait, you said something about a wife. I think she might be... Wait, why can't I remember? Alright, so from here, let's backtrack over to where we started. And yeah, it's a very different experience exploring the Rift Plane with our full capabilities. So from here, we need to make our way over to the second flower. Like the ruins, we can actually skip most encounters here, which is nice. And from this platform, you might be able to see a very small planetoid off in the distance. So let's make our way over here. I think I can check more places now. Something feels different about that one. And we have our final rare Nevi. It's a good thing we have a little bit of practice fighting this type of Nevi from the last boss. This one's actually a lot tougher because, as usual, this one is not vulnerable to special attacks, so we actually have to fight it using gravity kicks, which is not easy because, as we saw last time, hitboxes can be a little bit tricky. I feel like its little wings make this a little bit tricky because they kind of block attacks, and they kind of make the hitbox a little bit harder to reach. In general, I do think this is easier than the second rare Nevi, just because its attacks don't hit quite as hard, even though it's still very dangerous, and it is still good to be able to air dodge out of the way of things. So we destroyed 2 cores, so that means there's 3 left. One is armored. We're taking quite a bit of damage, but as a reminder, if you don't have any upgrades left, there is still health on nearby platforms that can be used to recover health, and the Nevi will not regain health or despawn if you go far away. So that wasn't a ton of health, mind you, but it's still better than nothing. If you could use a Gravity Typhoon, this would make the fight extremely trivial, so I get why you're not allowed to use special moves in these fights. Alright, that takes care of one more core, so that means it has only a little bit of health left. And just to be on the safe side, I am going to heal. By the way, there's also a trick to this fight that makes this really easy, and I will go over it, but I did want to fight this the intended way. One more hit should do it, and we have defeated all 3 rare Nevi. Look at all those gems. Alright, so let's pick up all of these. Even with all of the challenges and all of the rare Nevi, I don't think it's actually possible to level up to the max, which is kind of odd. So it might be necessary to explore Hexaville a little bit if you want to level up everything. At this point, we've basically done everything. I tend to have a very limited... I don't really use a lot of moves. in this game, so because I use such a limited selection of moves, I really don't mind not being able to level up everything. But if you do want to level up everything, yeah, you might have to explore a bit more, and Rift Plains are honestly a really great place to explore because of how many gems are everywhere. But the trick to that fight is to go over here, and pick up some of these objects lying around. So when you're floating around, these objects are clipping through Cat, and they kind of act like a shield of sorts. So instead of throwing them, it's good to just kind of let them float in front of Cat, and then block projectiles, and then deal as much damage as you can. And that makes that fight so much easier. So if you're having trouble with that fight, that is a very good method of easily defeating that rare Nevi. But yeah, that's all 3 rare Nevi fights, so all that's left to do in this final Rift plane is to find Nala, who is somewhere around here if I'm not mistaken. Yep, there she is. Oh, it's you. I was hoping I'd run into you again. Let me tell you something interesting. A long time ago, there was a man who climbed all the way to the top of the pillar at the center of the world. He said there was a beautiful castle there, and he was treated as an honored guest for many moons, until the day he decided to climb down and go home. But to the people he had left behind, he was gone for only a day, despite the fact he spent years up in the castle. No one believed he had climbed the pillar. Now, knowing this, imagine if he had climbed down the pillar instead of up. What would have happened when you returned home? I don't think the story would have had a happy end. If you had actually started the side quest early on, this would have been cool foreshadowing. At the end of the game, it's like, yeah, we actually know what happens. It does work exactly like she was speculating, where at the top of the pillar, and then going back down to like Hexville, it only feels like a short amount of time has passed, and it works the opposite way, going down the pillar and then climbing back to Hexville. So yeah, with that, we have done everything there is to do in all of the Rift Plains. I didn't fight any of the Nevi along the way, so we actually can't spawn the boss. So instead, I'm simply going to pause and exit the mission. And with that taken care of, there isn't actually much left to do in the game. We still need to find the Travelers, though, throughout Hexaville, so that's what we'll be doing next time. Actually, first of all, yeah, we really don't need to level up anything more at this point, so I think I'll actually skip that. So yeah, next time, we will continue searching for Singlor and Nala. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more Gravity Rush Remastered.